The engagement party was supposed to be the first step toward a new chapter of my life, a night of celebration, laughter, and love before the long road of wedding planning and marriage. We'd been together for 4 years, engaged for 6 months, and though Brooke and I had our share of arguments, I genuinely thought we were solid. We were standing on the brink of something lasting, or so I believed. Her parents, Diane and Robert, had insisted on throwing the party at their country club, one of those places where the hallways smelled faintly of expensive cologne, the bartenders wore bow ties, and every chandelier looked like it had been imported from Europe. They wanted the event to be memorable. They succeeded, just not in the way anyone expected. There were around 120 guests. Family from both sides, childhood friends, Brooke's sorority sisters, co-workers, and even some distant relatives I barely recognized. The bar was open, the hors d'oeuvres endless, and there was even a professional photographer circling the room like a silent observer, documenting the happiest night of our lives. For the first 2 hours, everything was fine. More than fine. Actually, I'd been catching up with cousins I hadn't seen in years, sipping on a whiskey that burned pleasantly and trying to shake off the nerves of being the center of attention. Brooke looked radiant. She wore this pale blue dress that hugged her in all the right ways, her hair pinned elegantly, her smile lighting up the room. I remember thinking, God, I'm lucky. And then it happened. A squeal, high-pitched, unrestrained, cut through the chatter of the party. It came from Brooke. Everyone turned, startled, as she practically sprinted across the room. My eyes followed her, and I saw him. Tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a navy suit that looked freshly tailored. He barely had time to spread his arms before she launched herself into them. What happened next is burned into my brain with crystal clarity. She leapt into his embrace. He caught her effortlessly, spinning her around as if they'd rehearsed it. Her legs lifted slightly off the ground. And then, right there, in front of 100 witnesses, she kissed him. Not a peck, not a friendly brush of lips, not even the kind of European cheek kiss you can excuse as culture. No. This was lips locked, eyes closed, his hand in her hair, her body pressed against his in a way that screamed familiarity, intimacy, desire. The entire room went silent. So silent, I swear I heard the bartender stop mid-pour, liquid sloshing onto the counter. I froze, whiskey glass in hand. My first thought wasn't even anger, it was disbelief. Surely, I'm not seeing this right. Surely, there's an explanation. I waited for her to pull back, laugh it off, and realize the spectacle she had just made. But when she finally did pull away, she wasn't horrified. She wasn't even embarrassed. She giggled. That light, flirty laugh she usually saved for our private moments. Then her eyes scanned the room, and when they landed on me, I saw the flicker of realization. And she laughed again. "Oh my God, babe," she said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "This is Garrett. From college. Don't look so serious." I set my whiskey down on the nearest table, every movement deliberate, controlled. My insides, though, felt like molten lava ready to erupt. I walked over, my face calm, my heart pounding hard enough to make my vision pulse. "You just kissed another man," I said evenly, "at our engagement party." Her expression shifted from bubbly to exasperated in a heartbeat. She rolled her eyes, actually rolled them, as if I were the one being unreasonable. "Don't be so dramatic," she scoffed. "It's just how I say hello to old friends. We were super close in college. Don't be so insecure." Garrett, for his part, had the decency to look uncomfortable. His face flushed, his smile awkward. He extended a hand toward me, muttering, "Congrats on the engagement, man." I didn't take his hand. My focus stayed on Brooke. "That's how you greet old friends?" I asked. My voice was steady, but inside, my stomach was turning. "Yes," she snapped. "God, don't make this weird." "Cool," I said. And then I turned to Chloe, her younger sister. She'd been standing nearby, her mouth slightly open, eyes wide, clearly as shocked as I was. Without hesitation, without overthinking, I reached out, cupped her face in my hands, and kissed her exactly the way Brooke had kissed Garrett. Full passion, hand tangled in her hair, slow enough for everyone to understand the point. When I pulled back, Chloe was speechless. Her face was crimson, her eyes darting nervously between me and her sister. The room, somehow, was quieter than before. It was as if the oxygen had been sucked out of it entirely. "What the hell?" Brooke shrieked. I looked at her calmly, mirroring her earlier tone. "Just saying goodbye to an old friend. Chloe and I got pretty close planning your surprise birthday party last year. Don't make it weird." The silence broke then, not with words, but with gasps, whispers, the shifting of bodies in the crowd. The photographer, God bless him, snapped another shot. I set my whiskey glass down again, this time on purpose, like a final punctuation. "By the way," I said, looking Brooke in the eye, "the wedding's off." And with that, I turned and walked out. I didn't run. I didn't storm. I walked, slow and steady, each step echoing in the marble-floored hall. The murmurs rose behind me, but I didn't look back. 3 steps into the parking lot, I heard it, the explosion. Brooke's heels clattering against the pavement as she came tearing after me, her voice shrill with fury. "You embarrassed me," she screamed. "You ruined everything. How dare you kiss my sister?" I turned, unlocking my car with the key fob, and faced her. "You kissed another man at our engagement party." "That's different," she shot back. "How?" I asked, genuinely curious to hear the mental gymnastics. "Garrett and I have history," she blurted out. And there it was, the truth she hadn't meant to say. "What kind of history?" I asked quietly. Her face paled. She stammered, then finally admitted, "We dated briefly, but that was years ago." "How briefly?" Her lips trembled. "Just sophomore through senior year." "That's 3 years, Brooke," I said, my voice ice cold. 3 years is not brief." She tried to wave it off, tears starting to pool. It didn't mean anything. "Then why was he at our engagement party?" Her tears spilled over then. I wanted him to see I'd moved on, that I was doing better without him." I stared at her, the weight of 4 years of my life suddenly collapsing under the truth of who she really was. Without another word, I got in my car, shut the door, and drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot, sobbing under the glow of the country club lights. That was the night the engagement ended. The night everything I thought I knew about Brooke shattered. And it was only the beginning of the chaos to come. When I left the country club that night, I thought the story was over. Brooke had shown her true colors, I'd made my point, and the wedding was off. But the fallout from that kiss, both hers and mine, turned into something I never could have predicted. Let me rewind to the exact moment. The kiss with Chloe. People always ask me, why would you do that? Why kiss her sister of all people? Honestly, it wasn't a plan. It wasn't some elaborate revenge scheme I'd been cooking up. It was instinct. Brooke had just tried to pass off a passionate, full-body kiss with her ex as a casual hello. She wanted to humiliate me in public, minimize my feelings, and make me look insecure in front of everyone. In that split second, my brain decided to give her a taste of her own medicine. If she wanted to call cheating a friendly hello, then I would call my own cheating a friendly goodbye. When my lips touched Chloe's, I remember a jolt running through the room. People literally gasped. Some covered their mouths, others just froze, wine glasses dangling mid-air. Chloe herself was rigid, her hands hanging by her sides, her body caught between shock and confusion. For me, it wasn't about her, it was about Brooke. When I pulled back, Chloe's eyes were wide, pupils blown like she'd just witnessed a car crash in slow motion. She didn't even breathe, and for a moment, I felt a pang of guilt. She didn't deserve to be dragged into this circus. But Brooke? Oh, she deserved every ounce of it. "What the hell?" she shrieked. Her voice cracked like glass shattering across the dance floor. The guests shifted uncomfortably. Nobody dared say anything. The tension was electric, crackling like static in the air. I remember seeing Diane Brooke's mother standing near the bar, her face frozen in a horrified mask, one hand clutching her pearls like she'd just witnessed a murder. Robert, her father, was red-faced, muttering something under his breath about keeping it together, just saying goodbye to an old friend. I told Brooke calmly, mimicking her words from earlier. My tone was casual, deliberate, designed to sting. "Chloe and I got pretty close planning your surprise birthday party last year. Don't make it weird." The room erupted not in cheers or boos, but in whispers. Dozens of hushed conversations broke out instantly. Did he really just with her sister? Oh my God, this is insane. That was the moment I realized I detonated a bomb. Brooke's face contorted into something between fury and disbelief. She opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. For once, the girl who always had something to say was speechless. And then I ended it. By the way, wedding's off. Those 3 words sliced through the silence like a blade. I turned and walked away. My shoes clicked against the polished floor, the sound echoing with finality. Each step was heavy, purposeful. I didn't run, I didn't shout, I didn't even look back. But inside, my heart was racing. My hands shook as I fished for my car keys. My chest felt tight, adrenaline surging like I'd just escaped a burning building. I barely made it 3 steps into the parking lot before the explosion hit. "You embarrassed me," Brooke's voice pierced the night air. I turned just in time to see her storming out of the building, heels in one hand, dress clutched in the other. Her perfectly styled hair had already started to unravel. She closed the distance between us like a storm on legs. "You wind everything. How dare you kiss my sister?" I spun around, jaw tight. "You kissed another man at our engagement party." "That's different," she spat. "How?" Her face twisted, her eyes wild. "Because Garrett and I have history." And there it was, the slip. The thing she didn't mean to admit in the heat of the moment. "What kind of history?" I asked, my voice low, dangerous. Her shoulders slumped for the briefest second. Her lips trembled. We dated briefly." My stomach dropped. "How? Briefly? Just sophomore through senior year." I let out a bitter laugh. "That's 3 years, Brooke. 3 years is not brief." She reached for me then, desperate, tears spilling down her face. It didn't mean anything. I just wanted him to see I'd moved on, that I was doing better without him. Her words twisted in my chest. She hadn't invited him as a harmless friend. She hadn't kissed him out of some weird hello ritual. She wanted to prove something to him, to flaunt me like a trophy, to rub our engagement in his face. I pulled back from her grasp. "You wanted closure? Well, congratulations. You got it. We're closed." And with that, I slid into my car, started the engine, and drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot, barefoot and sobbing under the country club lights. That night, I sat in my apartment replaying the scene over and over. The kiss, the silence, the look on Chloe's face, the explosion in the parking lot. Part of me was furious. Part of me was heartbroken. But another part of me, God help me, was amused. The absurdity of it all, the way the entire night had unraveled like a bad soap opera, was so surreal I almost laughed. I poured myself another drink and stared at the ceiling. 4 years of my life, gone in a single night. The wedding we'd been planning for months, the future I thought we were building together, all of it turned to ash in the span of 5 minutes. But there was no going back. Not after that kiss. Not after her lies. And as much as Brooke tried to paint me as the villain for kissing her sister, I knew the truth. I hadn't destroyed us. She had. My kiss was just the punctuation mark at the end of her sentence. The next morning, I would find out that the story was only beginning. But in that moment, sitting in my apartment with whiskey in hand and my phone buzzing non-stop with messages I refused to open, I finally understood something. Sometimes endings don't come quietly. Sometimes they come with fireworks. And sometimes they come with a kiss. When I drove away from the country club that night, I thought I'd seen the worst of it. I thought the humiliating kiss, the confrontation, and my dramatic exit had been the grand finale. I was wrong. What happened in the parking lot and what followed in the hours after wasn't the end of the story. It was the fuse being lit. The chase. The memory of Brooke running barefoot into the night is etched in my mind like a scene from a movie. The double doors of the country club banged open so hard they smacked against the walls. Her heels were in one hand, her clutch dangling from the other, her pale blue dress dragging along the pavement. Guests spilled out behind her, some curious, some mortified, some clutching their drinks like they were settling in for free entertainment. "You embarrassed me," she shrieked, her voice cutting through the quiet night. I had already reached my car. My hand was on the door handle, the key fob still warm in my palm. I turned, the yellow glow of the street lamps illuminating her red, furious face. "You ruin everything," she screamed again, her words echoing across the nearly empty parking lot. "How dare you kiss my sister?" The hypocrisy of it all nearly made me laugh. She had just kissed her ex, passionately kissed him in front of over 100 witnesses, and I was the one who had crossed the line. "You kissed another man at our engagement party," I said evenly. "That's different," her voice cracked. My hands clenched into fists. How? And then came the slip. The fatal truth she didn't mean to let out. Because Garrett and I have history, the confession. For a moment, the world went silent. No traffic, no murmurs from the gawking guests at the doorway, just those words hanging in the air between us. History, the one thing no fiancé ever wants to hear about when it comes to their partner and someone else. I tilted my head, studying her like a detective examining a suspect who just gave away too much. What kind of history? Her face paled. She hesitated, glancing over her shoulder like she could somehow rewind the last 10 seconds and shove the words back in her mouth. We dated briefly, she stammered. I raised an eyebrow. How briefly? Her eyes flickered, darting around as if the answer might be written somewhere on the asphalt. Just sophomore through senior year. I barked out a sharp laugh, more bitter than amused. That's 3 years, Brooke. 3 years is not brief. That's not a fling. That's not casual. That's a relationship. Her tears started then, cutting black streaks through her carefully applied makeup. It didn't mean anything, she pleaded. It was years ago. Then why? I cut her off, my voice cold. Was he at our engagement party? The silence stretched, the crowd behind her whispering, leaning forward, waiting for her to say something, anything that would make this make sense. Her lips trembled. I just wanted him to see I'd moved on, that I was doing better without him. The breaking point, there it was. The confession. The real reason she had invited him. She hadn't brought Garrett into our lives as an innocent old friend. She hadn't kissed him out of habit. She had invited him to parade me in front of him, to use me as some sort of trophy, a prop in her unfinished drama with her ex. In that moment, the entire foundation of our relationship cracked. 4 years together, 6 months engaged, hundreds of conversations about our future, our wedding, our dreams, all of it reduced to ash because she couldn't let go of the past. You wanted closure? I said, my voice barely above a whisper. Well, congratulations, you got it, we're closed. Her hand shot out, clutching my arm. Please, she begged, her voice breaking. Don't do this here, not in front of everyone. We can talk inside. Just don't leave. I shook her off. You humiliated me in front of everyone. You don't get to control the exit. She collapsed against the hood of a nearby car, sobbing, gasping, shaking her head. I love you. You can't just throw everything away over a kiss. I climbed into my car, the leather squeaking under me as I shut the door. Through the windshield, I saw her still pleading, her hair falling loose from its pins, her mascara running, her whole image unraveling in front of the crowd. I started the engine. The rumble drowned out her sobs. As I pulled away, I saw Chloe in the doorway, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. She wasn't crying, she wasn't pleading, she was just watching, her lips pressed in a tight line. The aftermath that night. By the time I got home, my phone was buzzing like an alarm. 47 messages from Brooke, 12 from her mum, 6 from her dad, and surprisingly, 1 from Chloe. Brooke's texts were a storm of emotions. Please let me explain. You're overreacting. You kissed my sister. How could you? We need to talk now. If you love me, you'll answer. Her moms were all variations of, this is a misunderstanding. Brooke is devastated. The wedding is still in 3 months. We can fix this. Her dads were less kind. Be a man and work this out. Relationships aren't perfect. You can't just walk away over one mistake. Chloe's, though, hers made me stop in my tracks. Holy shit. I'm sorry. For what it's worth, you kiss better than my ex. I laughed for the first time that night. A short, sharp laugh that loosened something in my chest. But even as I laughed, I knew one thing with certainty. There was no going back. Why this was the true beginning. People think the moment Brooke kissed Garrett was the breaking point. They think the engagement ended when I kissed Chloe. But the truth? The real ending began here, in the parking lot, when Brooke admitted Garrett was her history. When she revealed the truth she hadn't meant to say. When I finally realized that she hadn't chosen me out of love, but out of convenience, out of competition with someone she should have left in her past. Everything that followed, the texts, the social media posts, the family drama, the chaos with Garrett's girlfriend, stemmed from this moment. Because once the truth is out, you can't put it back in the box. And Brooke's truth was simple. She had never really let go of Garrett, which meant she had never really chosen me. That night, lying awake in my apartment with my phone lighting up like a Christmas tree beside me, I made myself a promise. No matter what excuses she tried to throw my way, no matter what her family said, no matter how many tears, threats, or manipulations followed, I was done. The engagement was over, the wedding was cancelled, and for the first time in 4 years, I was free. What I didn't know yet was just how far Brooke and her family would go to drag me back into her chaos. But that's the thing about explosions. The initial blast is only the beginning. The aftershocks? They keep coming. When I woke up the morning after the engagement party disaster, the first thing I felt wasn't relief. It was dread. My phone was still vibrating on the nightstand, even though it was 7 a.m. I had plugged it in before collapsing into bed, but the screen was still lit up with endless notifications, texts, calls, voicemails, even Facebook messages. It wasn't just Brooke anymore. It was her family. It was Garrett. And because apparently chaos travels fast, it was mutual friends who had been at the party. My world, in less than 12 hours, had gone from groom-to-be to the guy who left his fiancée crying in a parking lot. The avalanche of texts scrolling through the messages was like reading a script written by a deranged playwright. From Brooke 2:43 a.m. I love you. I messed up. Please don't leave me over this. From Brooke 3:17 a.m. It was just a kiss. Just a kiss. Stop making it bigger than an island. From Brooke 4:2 a.m. You kissed Chloe. How dare you act like you're the victim here. From her mum 45 a.m. Sweetheart, I know Brooke messed up, but every couple has bumps. Don't throw away 4 years over one night. From her dad 5:10 a.m. Be a man. You don't walk away when things get hard. Work it out. From Chloe 5:33 a.m. So, everyone hates me now. Oops. Not sorry though. Also, breakfast? That last one almost made me smile. Almost. But then came the kicker from an unknown number 6:1 a.m. This is Garrett. Call me. We need to clear some things up. The knock on the door. By the time I put my phone down, I had only half decided whether to crawl back under the blanket and disappear for a week. But fate, or maybe just Brooke, had other plans. At 8:12 a.m. there was a knock at my door. A loud, insistent, almost angry knock. I froze. Part of me thought it might be a neighbor. Another part knew better. When I peered through the peephole, I nearly laughed at the absurdity of it all. Standing there in yesterday's clothes, hair a tangled mess, mascara still smeared, was Brooke. And next to her, looking like he had just stepped off a yacht, was Garrett. Of course. The awkward standoff. I opened the door, but only halfway. My hand stayed firmly on the frame, blocking their path. What the hell are you doing here? I asked, my voice flat. Brooke's eyes were red and puffy, but her lips curled into a desperate, pleading smile. We need to talk. Please. Just give me 5 minutes. I glanced at Garrett, who looked far too comfortable standing on my doormat. His smirk made my stomach churn. And why is he here? I asked. Because this involves him too, Brooke snapped. Then, realizing her tone wasn't helping, she softened it. I need you both to understand. I laughed bitterly. Understand what? That you tongued your ex in front of my entire family. That you invited him to our engagement party because you're still hung up on him. Garrett chuckled under his breath, like this was all just amusing drama to him. That smirk, that smug, condescending smirk nearly pushed me over the edge. Get off my porch, I said. But Brooke shoved her hand against the door, holding it open. No, please listen, it wasn't like that. The excuses. And so began her spiral of explanations. She said she had invited Garrett to prove to herself that she was really over him. She said the kiss just happened because of old memories. She said it meant nothing, absolutely nothing, and that she regretted it instantly. But then she made the mistake of saying, you kissing Chloe hurt me more than anything I did. I snapped. More than anything you did? Brooke, you humiliated me in front of 100 people. You dragged your ex into our engagement party like some twisted trophy show. And now you're standing on my porch with him like I'm supposed to. What, apologize? Garrett finally spoke, his tone calm, almost rehearsed. Look, man, I didn't come here to cause trouble. I just think you should give her another chance. She's clearly upset. That was it. That was the line. The sheer audacity of it. Are you kidding me? I barked. You're the guy who made out with my fiancée in front of my parents, my friends, everyone I know, and now you're standing here telling me to give her another chance? His smirk faltered. Good. The line in the sand. Brooke reached for my hand, her fingers trembling. I love you, she whispered. Please, Let's just put this behind us. We can still get married. We can still have everything we planned. For a moment, I almost pitied her. Almost. But then I remembered her words in the parking lot. Because Garrett and I have history, I pulled my hand back. The wedding is off. The engagement is over. You need to accept that. Her face crumpled like paper. No, you don't mean that. You can't mean that. I do. My voice was steady, final. The explosion, and that's when Brooke broke. Her tears turned to rage in an instant. Her voice rose, echoing through the hallway of my apartment building. You're just throwing us away. After everything we built? She screamed. 4 years? And you're going to walk away like it's nothing? Doors down the hall cracked open. Neighbors peeked out, curious. Garrett shifted uncomfortably, suddenly less amused. I kept my voice calm. I'm not throwing anything away. You already did. Her sobs turned into wails. She slammed her fist against my doorframe, mascara dripping down her cheeks like ink. You'll regret this, she screamed. You'll come crawling back when you realize no one will ever love you like I do. I shut the door. The last thing I heard before her footsteps stormed down the hall was her voice cracking through sobs. I hate you. The silence after. When the echo of their departure finally faded, I leaned back against the door, exhausted. The apartment was quiet, but my head was anything but. 4 years, hundreds of dates, thousands of conversations, tens of thousands of dollars spent on the wedding we'd been planning. And now, nothing. Just me, alone in my apartment, listening to the silence that comes after a bomb goes off. But silence doesn't last forever, because within an hour, the fallout began. And this time, it wasn't just texts and knocks on the door. It was social media. And once Brooke went public, there was no turning back. If the night of the engagement party was the spark, and the parking lot was the explosion, then what came next was the wildfire. And like every wildfire in the modern world, it spread on social media first. The first post. By the time I finished my coffee that morning, my phone buzzed with a notification that made my stomach drop. Brooke had posted, not just some vague, going through a lot, please respect my privacy status. Oh no, she went full soap opera. Her Facebook update read like a tragic diary entry. Sometimes the person you love most betrays you in ways you never imagined. Last night should have been the happiest night of my life, but instead my fiancé humiliated me in front of everyone by kissing my sister. Please keep me in your prayers as I process this heartbreak. The comment section exploded instantly. Her bridesmaids flooded it with heart emojis and you deserve better, queen. Her mum wrote, stay strong, baby girl. Anyone would be lucky to have you. Even her pastor chimed in with a Bible verse about forgiveness. And then came the DMs. Not to her, to me. Half my friend list messaged me variations of, dude, what the fuck happened last night? You kissed Chloe? Tell me this isn't true. Brooke had framed herself as the innocent victim. In less than an hour, she had rewritten history. But she hadn't counted on one thing, the photographer. The photographer's photos. Unbeknownst to Brooke, the engagement party photographer had been snapping candids all night. She had hired him to capture the magic of the evening. Is the first all erection? Well, he had captured it, all right. At 11:03 a.m., he texted me, hey man, I saw Brooke's post. Just so you know, I have about 30 crystal clear shots of her kissing Garrett. If you want them, they're yours. No charge. You deserve the receipts. I stared at the photos for a solid 5 minutes before the rage in my chest melted into something colder, sharper. Strategy. Brooke wanted to play the victim? Fine. Let's put the truth out there. The counterattack. At noon, I uploaded the clearest picture. Brooke, hands tangled in Garrett's hair, eyes closed, mid-kiss, right in front of the champagne tower. My caption was simple. For everyone wondering what really happened at my engagement party last night, here's why I kissed Chloe. Actions have consequences. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't rant. I didn't curse. I just dropped the photo and let the internet do the rest. And oh, did they? The fallout. Within an hour, the post had over 400 comments. Half was stunned silence. Half were gleeful chaos. Brew, this is wild. Not Brooke tonguing Garrett at her own engagement party. You're a legend for that clapback. Chloe won the night. Sorry, not sorry. Brooke's bridesmaid scrambled to defend her. This is taken out of context. She was just saying hi. Everyone knows kisses don't mean anything. Someone replied with a zoomed-in screenshot. Brooke's hand gripping Garrett's jaw like her life depended on it. Context destroyed. Brooke's meltdown. By 3 p.m., Brooke was spiraling. She posted a furious Instagram story. "You don't air private issues online. That's disgusting. I thought you were better than this." Followed by another. "It was one kiss. One. Stop acting like I murdered someone." And then the pièce de résistance. "To the girl who calls herself my sister, you are dead to me." Chloe responded on Twitter within 10 minutes. "Dead to you? Sweetie, you were making out with your ex at my sister's engagement party. Sit down." The internet crowned Chloe the winner immediately. Family warfare. By dinner time, the family group chat was on fire. Her mom, "How dare you post that photo? Do you realize how humiliated Brooke feels? Delete it now." She posted first. She lied. I corrected it. Her dad, "A real man doesn't humiliate a woman, no matter what she does." Chloe, "A real woman doesn't shove her tongue down Garrett's throat at her own engagement party, Dad." The silence after Chloe's message was glorious. For the first time, her parents didn't have a comeback. The public takes sides. Over the next 48 hours, the drama spread beyond our immediate circle. Screenshots of Brooke's original post and my photo made it onto a local wedding planning Facebook group, then onto Reddit, then onto TikTok. Suddenly, strangers were weighing in. "This is why you don't marry someone who can't let go of their ex. He did the right thing. Protect your peace, King." Low-key respect for Chloe. That was savage. Brooke tried to keep spinning the narrative, but every time she opened her mouth, someone reposted the picture. Receipts beat excuses every time. Garrett tries to save face. In the middle of all this, Garrett decided to make his grand statement. He posted a long Facebook note about respect and boundaries, claiming he had no idea Brooke still had feelings for him and that the kiss caught him off guard. Someone immediately replied with a slowed-down video clip from the party. Garrett leaning in, clearly participating, hand on her waist. Comments roasted him alive. "Caught off guard? Sir, your hand placement says otherwise." Imagine writing a whole essay just to get exposed by HD video. Garrett deleted the post within the hour. My phone rings again. By the end of the week, the chaos had reached a boiling point. Brooke's family had turned against Chloe completely. Garrett's girlfriend, Adriana, had slid into my DMs with screenshots proving Brooke and Garrett had been in contact for months, and strangers on the internet were treating my breakup like a reality TV show. Then my phone buzzed. A call from Brooke. For a long moment, I stared at the screen. Every instinct screamed to decline. But curiosity won. I answered. Her voice was ragged, tired, stripped of the rage and theatrics. "Please," she whispered, "can we just meet? Just us. No cameras, no posts, no Chloe, no Garrett, just us." I didn't say yes. I didn't say no, but in that moment, I realized the storm wasn't over. If anything, it was just beginning. If Chapter 5 was the social media wildfire, then Chapter 6 was when Brooke and her family decided to personally march into the ashes with gasoline cans. I thought posting the photos was the peak of the drama. I thought I'd set the record straight and everyone would quietly go lick their wounds. But Brooke's family? Oh no, they weren't the quiet type. The phone call from Diane. The first shot was fired at 7:15 a.m. on a Tuesday. My phone lit up with Diane, future MIL. I had never updated her contact name, a rookie mistake. I answered with the kind of politeness you reserve for telemarketers. "Good morning, Diane." Her voice came sharp, clipped, and already at full volume. How could you? How could you humiliate my daughter like this?" I blinked. "You mean how could she humiliate me? Don't play games. That post, you've ruined her reputation. People are gossiping. Do you know what that does to a young woman's image?" "Diane," I said evenly, "your daughter ruined her reputation the second she tongued her ex-boyfriend in front of 120 people at her engagement party." Silence. For a moment, I thought I'd won. Then she pivoted. She made a mistake. One mistake. A real man forgives. You, on the other hand, plastered it across the internet for the world to see. That's petty. That's cruel. You need to delete it and apologize. I actually laughed. Delete it? Diane, that photo is in 10 different Facebook groups and 3 subreddits. It's not going anywhere. And apology? She owes me that, not the other way around. You're impossible, she snapped. You've destroyed this family. I hope you're proud. And then she hung up. Robert tries the business angle. 2 hours later, her dad, Robert, called. If Diane was the hammer, Robert was the salesman. Listen, son, he began, his voice syrupy smooth, the way CEOs talk when they're trying to buy a competitor. We're all very upset about how things went down, but I think we can fix this. If you want to, I almost choked. Fix this? Yes, counseling, mediation. We'll pay for everything. You two have invested 4 years. You don't just throw that away over, what did Diane call it? A lapse in judgment. She was making out with her ex, I said flatly. Robert sighed. People slip up. Men cheat all the time and women forgive them. Why can't you do the same? My jaw clenched, because I'm not interested in starting a marriage on lies and betrayal. He pivoted again. Fine. How about this? We'll help you two start fresh. We'll buy you a house as a wedding gift. We'll set up a trust fund for future grandchildren. Everything you need to build a future. Just take her back. The audacity. The arrogance. As if I could be bribed into marrying their daughter. No deal, I said. The engagement is over. The wedding is off. End of discussion. Robert's voice went cold. You'll regret this. Click. The loot attempt. The calls were just the warm-up. That weekend, I came home from work to find Brooke, her mum, and 3 of her bridesmaids camped outside my apartment building. They had a moving van. When I walked up, Diane immediately pounced. We're here to collect Brooke's belongings. I folded my arms. Brooke's belongings are her clothes, her toiletries, maybe a couple books. Everything else in that apartment is mine, including the cat. Brooke stepped forward, eyes blazing. I want the TV, the PlayStation, the espresso machine, half the furniture, and Oscar. I nearly laughed. You're allergic to cats. You've never fed him once. I still want him, she hissed. No, I said simply. Her bridesmaids looked uncomfortable, shuffling their feet, but Diane was on fire. She pulled out her phone and started live streaming on Facebook. This man, she said dramatically, pointing at me like a prosecutor, is refusing to return my daughter's property. He is holding her hostage emotionally and financially. Look at this abuse. The camera swung to me. I waved. Hi, Facebook. These people are trying to rob me. The live comments started rolling in. Isn't that the guy from the photo post? Didn't she kiss her ex? Why are you still defending her? Girl, go home. This is embarrassing. But Diane was relentless. They stayed out there for 2 hours, banging on my door, demanding entry, threatening lawsuits. Finally, the building manager came and called the cops. When the officers arrived, Diane tried to play the victim. But the cops had already seen the live stream. They told her she had 5 minutes to leave before they arrested the whole crew for harassment. They left, muttering about injustice. I stood in my doorway with Oscar purring in my arms, watching them retreat. It felt like winning a small war. The text from Chloe. That night, my phone buzzed. A new text from Chloe. I'm sorry about all that. I tried to tell them not to come. For what it's worth, you kiss better than my ex. I laughed so hard I almost dropped my phone. I replied, pretty sure that's the strangest compliment I've ever received. Thanks. She sent back 3 crying laughing emojis and nothing more. It was the first genuine smile I'd had in weeks. The intervention plot. Just when I thought things couldn't get stranger, my mum called the next day. She was laughing so hard she could barely speak. You'll never guess what just happened, she said. Turns out, Brooke had called my mum and tried to convince her that I was having a mental breakdown. She wanted my family to stage an intervention to save our relationship. My mum, bless her soul, told her, honey, the only therapy he needs is distance from you. That was the exact moment I realized Brooke wasn't just in denial. She was in campaign mode. This wasn't about me anymore. It was about control. The entitlement explosion. A few days later, Diane called again. This time her voice wasn't angry. It was syrupy sweet. Let's be reasonable, she said. The engagement party was ruined. The wedding is off. Everyone's upset. But it doesn't have to be ugly. If you just reimburse us for the engagement party expenses, we can all move forward peacefully. I almost dropped the phone. Reimburse you? I already paid $3,000 toward that party. I'm the one out money, not you. Don't be petty, she scolded. Be a man. Do the right thing. Diane, I said slowly, savoring every word. Your daughter kissed another man at our engagement party. If anyone owes someone money, she owes me. The mask slipped. You'll regret this. she snapped, and hung up. I didn't regret it, not even for a second. Chloe's leverage. That night, Chloe texted me again. Dad offered me $10K to convince you to take Brooke back. I laughed out loud. Please tell me you took it. I told him to make it $20K and I'd think about it. Then said JK, she made her bed. By the way, Garrett has been sliding into my DMs begging for another chance. I'm tempted to string him along for fun. I stared at her message, grinning. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like the villain of their twisted family narrative. I felt like the only sane person in a circus. The lesson that week cemented the truth. Brooke's family would do anything. Lie, manipulate, bribe, even stage theft to protect their image. But the thing about lies is, once the receipts are out, they can't be stuffed back in the envelope. I had the photos. I had the truth. And most importantly, I had my freedom. Brooke thought she could gaslight the world into believing I was the problem, but the world had already chosen sides, and spoiler alert, it wasn't hers. If Chapter 6 was about screaming matches, door banging, and livestream humiliation, then Chapter 7 was the quieter, nastier sequel, the email war. Because when Brooke and her family realized they couldn't control me in person, they decided to go digital. And let me tell you, I've never seen so many unhinged Gmail drafts in my life. The first shot. The heartfelt letter. It started with an email from Brooke herself. Subject, please just read. The body of the message was one long wall of text. No paragraphs, just emotional diarrhea poured straight onto the keyboard. I know you're angry, but deep down you know we're meant to be. What happened at the party wasn't what it looked like. Garrett was drunk, he grabbed me, I didn't want it. Everyone exaggerated. I love you, not him. Please don't throw away 4 years over a stupid mistake. I'm begging you to remember the good times. Remember Cancun? Remember Christmas at my parents'? Remember how we talked about kids? Don't let this family fall apart because of gossip. Number 4. She attached a collage of photos of us vacations, birthdays, selfies. A last-ditch guilt grenade. I read it twice. Not because I was swayed, but because I couldn't believe how hard she was rewriting history. Garrett didn't grab her. I had 3 separate videos of her leaning in, giggling, and wrapping her arms around his neck. My reply was short and brutal. Brooke, I saw it with my own eyes. So did everyone else. Please stop insulting my intelligence. She didn't respond. The mother's manifesto. The next day, my inbox pinged again, this time from Diane. Subject, to the man who broke my daughter's heart. I opened it, expecting another guilt trip. What I got was a manifesto. You are destroying not just Brooke's life, but our entire family's reputation. Do you know how humiliating it is to show our faces at church, at the country club, at Robert's business dinners? Everyone whispers, everyone laughs. And why? Because you wanted to play hero on social media. You could have handled this privately. Instead, you publicly shamed my daughter. That is emotional abuse. That is slander. You've made yourself look cruel, bitter, and vindictive. You will never find another woman of Brooke's caliber. Mark my words, you will end up alone. I leaned back, sipping my coffee. The audacity was almost impressive. I didn't reply. Some things don't deserve words. The dad's business proposal too. 2 days later, another email. This time from Robert. Subject, a practical solution. Look, I know emotions are high, but as men, let's cut through the drama. Here's what I propose. You and Brooke attend 6 months of couples counseling, my expense. During this time, we spin a story publicly that you two are working through things like adults. No more social media drama, no more gossip. At the end of 6 months, if you still want out, fine. But this way, everyone saves face. Brooke doesn't look like a villain, you don't look like a bitter ex, and our families avoid being the town joke. Win-win. He even attached a PDF titled Counseling Agreement Draft. It looked like a business contract. Bullet points, deadlines, financial commitments. I forwarded it to Chloe with the caption, "Your dad is trying to merge me and Brooke like a hostile takeover." Chloe replied, 2 minutes later, "Laugh my ass off. He used that same format when he offered to buy my silence after catching me smoking in high school. Don't sign it." The smear campaign. When bribery failed, they tried intimidation. Over the next week, I started receiving anonymous emails from burner accounts. "We know things about you too. Careful before you ruin your own career. Delete the photos or your boss will see what kind of man you really are. Your friends don't actually like you. They're laughing at you. The funniest one was, you're not even that attractive. Brooke could do way better. The grammar, the tone, it all screams Diane. So I screenshot them and posted to my story with the caption, "Nice try, Diane. Use spell check next time." The messages stopped. The lawyer bluff. Then came the big guns. Or at least, their attempt. One morning, I opened my inbox to find an email with the subject, "Cease and desist. Defamation." It was written in Comic Sans. The body said, "This letter serves as notice that your defamatory post about Brooke Smith must be removed immediately. If not, we will pursue legal action for damages of up to $250. Signed, Attorney Michael R. There was no letterhead, no address, no signature, just Attorney Michael R. in bold. I googled the name. No such lawyer existed in our state. I forwarded it to my cousin, who actually is a lawyer. His response? Laugh my ass off. If you get sued in Comic Sans, you automatically win. The friends chain letters. When family tactics failed, Brooke recruited friends. Suddenly, I was flooded with emails from old college buddies, mutual friends, even her sorority sisters, all with the same theme. She's sorry, you're overreacting, don't throw away something real. One particularly dramatic one said, "True love only comes once in a lifetime. Don't let Garrett's kiss destroy your destiny." I replied, if true love only comes once, then Brooke should have thought about that before she tongue wrestled her true love number 2. No response. The HR nuke attempt. The nastiest email came 2 weeks later. Subject: about your employee. It was addressed to my boss, CC'd to half the company leadership. The sender? A throwaway Gmail, clearly Diane again. The content accused me of revenge porn for posting the party photos, never mind that they were in a public setting, abusive behavior toward women, emotional instability that made me a workplace danger. It was a full-on attempt to get me fired. Luckily, my boss is the kind of guy who calls BS from a mile away. He forwarded it to me with a one-line note. Ignore this nonsense. Also, don't date crazy. I laughed so hard I cried. The counter-strike. By this point, I was sick of playing defense. So, I crafted my own email. Subject: closure. I sent it to Brooke, Diane, and Robert at once. Let me make this perfectly clear. The engagement is over. The wedding is cancelled. Brooke is not welcome in my home. Any further harassment calls, emails, visits, social media posts will be documented and sent directly to law enforcement. I am not reimbursing you for a single cent. And if you send one more fake legal document, I will have my cousin, an actual attorney, send you a very real one. I hit send. Within 5 minutes, Diane replied with one line, "You'll regret this." But here's the thing. I didn't. Not at all. The Chloe factor. While all this chaos was unfolding, Chloe kept sliding into my inbox too, but her emails were the opposite. Light, playful, almost flirty. One just said, "Can't believe they tried to Comic Sans you, that's abuse." Another, "If you need a fake girlfriend to shut them up, I volunteer." I wasn't sure if she was joking, but I was sure that for the first time since the party, my inbox was actually making me smile. The fallout. Eventually, the email storm slowed. They realized I wasn't budging. No bribes, no threats, no smear tactics worked. But their desperation had exposed something important. Brooke didn't actually want me back. She wanted control. Diane didn't care about love. She cared about image. Robert saw me like an investment he was losing. The only person who treated me like an actual human being? Chloe. And that realization would come back in a big way in the next chapter. If the email war was a slow grind of petty insults and veiled threats, Chapter 8 was the opposite, explosive, dramatic, and a little bit theatrical. Because this was the chapter where karma finally got tired of waiting and decided to clock in overtime. The rumors start. It began innocently enough. One of Chloe's friends, let's call her Maya, worked at a downtown cafe where Garrett was a regular. One afternoon, Maya texted Chloe a picture, not just of Garrett, but of Garrett with another woman, not Brooke. The photo showed Garrett laughing, leaning across the table, hand over the woman's fingers like he was auditioning for The Bachelor. Maya's text said, "Your sister's fiancé is out here acting single. Want me to send more?" Chloe showed me, smirking. "Brooke has no idea," she said. I raised an eyebrow. You gonna tell her? Chloe's smile widened. Oh, not yet. Timing is everything. The puzzle pieces fall. Over the next 2 weeks, more pieces dropped. Garrett wasn't just talking to one woman, he was juggling 3. A yoga instructor he met on Instagram, a bartender from his favorite club, and, hilariously, his boss's assistant. Every time he tried to hide, someone spotted him. The man had the subtlety of a marching band in a library. Chloe collected the evidence like a squirrel with acorns. Photos, screenshots, even a voice memo of him whispering sweet nothings in a bar bathroom. It was like Garrett was speedrunning the self-destruction of his own relationship. Brooke's denial. But when Chloe casually mentioned to Brooke that Garrett seemed busy lately, Brooke brushed it off. He's just stressed with work, she said. And you know how jealous people get when they see a happy couple. Chloe bit her tongue so hard she nearly drew blood. Sure, she said. Happy couple. But the thing about denial is it only works until the receipts show up. The setup. One Friday night, Chloe hatched a plan. She invited Brooke over for a sisters' night in. Wine, face masks, Netflix. Brooke showed up in pajamas, all smiles, clearly relieved to have a break from the drama. Halfway through the second glass of rosé, Chloe casually said, "So, when's the last time you saw Garrett?" Brooke laughed. "Yesterday. Why?" Chloe unlocked her phone, turned the screen, and slid it across the table. On the display, Garrett, lips locked with the bartender, time-stamped just 2 hours earlier. Brooke froze. For the first time since the engagement party, she had no script, no excuses, no tears ready, just silence. Then she whispered, "That's not him." Chloe swiped, picture after picture, different outfits, different women, same Garrett. Brooke's face crumbled. The blow-up. The next day, Brooke stormed into Garrett's apartment. Neighbors said they heard screaming for a full 20 minutes. At one point, Brooke hurled his Xbox off the balcony. It exploded on the pavement below like a firework of plastic and regret. Someone filmed it, of course. It went viral on TikTok under the caption, "When your man cheats and you remember gravity exists." Garrett tried damage control, but every excuse he used made things worse. "She kissed me first." Cue screenshots proving otherwise. "I was drunk." Same excuse Brooke used at my engagement party, poetic justice. "We weren't exclusive." Engagement rings beg to differ. By the end of the week, Garrett was single, broke, he had to pay for the destroyed balcony damage and the internet's favorite punching bag. Brooke turns bitter. You'd think Brooke would take this as a wake-up call, that maybe she'd reflect, learn, grow. Nope. Instead, she pivoted. She started telling anyone who would listen that I had cursed her by kissing Chloe, that everything bad in her life since that night was somehow my fault. Her exact words at brunch with her bridesmaids were, "He ruined my destiny, he tainted my future, that kiss poisoned everything." One of the bridesmaids secretly recorded it and sent it to Chloe. "We laughed so hard we nearly cried." "Imagine blaming a kiss," Chloe said between giggles. "Not your own cheating, not Garrett's clown behavior, just one kiss." The twist. Here's where it gets delicious. While Brooke was busy blaming me, Chloe was busy spending more time with me. What started as casual allies against chaos slowly turned into late-night calls, shared meals, inside jokes. She'd come over to drop off receipts about Brooke and Garrett, but end up staying for hours, curled up on my couch, watching old sitcoms. One night, after laughing ourselves breathless over another ridiculous Brooke rant, Chloe suddenly got quiet. She looked at me. Serious for once. "You know," she said softly, "everyone thinks I'm the villain for what happened at the party, but I don't regret it. Neither did I." The family's reaction. When Diane and Robert found out Garrett had imploded, they went into full spin mode. Diane's Facebook post read, "Sometimes people show their true colors too late. Heartbroken for my daughter, but grateful she found out now rather than after marriage." Robert, meanwhile, tried to sue Garrett for emotional damages to the family name. The case was laughed out of court within minutes, but what really broke them wasn't Garrett. It was Chloe. Because by this point, whispers had started that Chloe and I weren't just friends, that maybe there was more, that maybe the sister Brooke had publicly disowned was the one I was quietly falling for. And nothing enraged Diane more than the thought of me and Chloe making Brooke look like yesterday's news. The final blow. The twist came full circle at a family gathering. Diane invited me, probably hoping to stage another guilt trap intervention, Against my better judgment, I went. Halfway through dinner, Brooke cornered me in the kitchen. Her voice was low, trembling. "Please," she whispered, "don't end up with Chloe. Anyone but her. She doesn't love you. She's just trying to hurt me." I looked her in the eyes and said, "Brooke, not everything is about you." And then Chloe walked in, slid her hand into mine, and smiled. The silence in that kitchen was louder than any scream. The aftermath, word spread like wildfire. Within a week, the story had flipped completely. Garrett was the joke. Brooke was the bitter ex. Chloe and I were the unexpected twist nobody saw coming. People called it messy, scandalous, even Shakespearean. But me? For the first time since the engagement party, I felt free. Because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just living well while your ex drowns in the mess she created. If Chapter 8 was Brooke's crash and burn with Garrett, Chapter 9 was the aftermath, the cleanup, the collateral damage, the desperate scrambles, and the surprising new doors that opened for me. Because when one relationship implodes so publicly, the fallout doesn't just hit the two people involved. It spreads to families, to friends, to social circles, to people you didn't even realize were watching. And oh boy, a lot of people were watching. The legal circus. It started with a letter. A neatly folded piece of paper slid under my apartment door inside a stiff manila envelope, Brooke's handwriting on the outside. I should have known better than to open it, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a formal demand letter drafted poorly by a local lawyer. Brooke was claiming the engagement ring had to be returned immediately. I owed her compensation for emotional damages caused by my social media post of the kiss. She was entitled to half the value of our shared assets. I had to pay her $50 for defamation. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped the letter in my cat's water bowl. For starters, the ring was a conditional gift. It's only hers if we got married. We didn't. Strike one. The social media post, taken at a public event by a paid photographer. Strike two. Shared assets? We lived in my apartment, on my lease, with my furniture, and her contribution was occasionally buying oat milk. Strike three. Defamation? Truth is an absolute defense. And the photo was truth, captured in pixels. Strike 4, 5, 6, and a home run for me. My lawyer drafted a counter-demand. Return the ring. Repay my 3-0 contribution to the engagement party. Cover the $8,500 in lost deposits from the cancelled wedding. Suddenly, Brooke's lawyer wanted to handle things amicably. Translation: they realized they had no case and Brooke was about to owe me money. The family intervention too. Of course, the legal smackdown didn't stop Brooke's family. Diane, her mum, called me one afternoon, voice trembling with rage. "This is pettiness of the highest order," she snapped. "Real men fight for love. They don't sue women who made one mistake." "Diane," I said calmly, "your daughter kissed her ex at our engagement party, lied for months, and tried to rob me after the breakup. This isn't one mistake, it's a career in mistakes." She huffed. "You kissed her sister!" After Brooke did the same thing, in front of me, with Garrett. Why is my kiss nuclear and hers a casual greeting? Silence. Then she hung up. Not an hour later, Robert, her dad, called. His approach was different. Smooth. Businesslike. "Son," he said, because he always called me that, like I was already in the family. "Let's be practical. I'll buy you a house. I'll fund a trust for future grandkids. I'll pay for counseling. Just take her back." I almost choked on my coffee. "Robert," I said, "you're offering me real estate to marry your daughter. Do you hear yourself?" "She made mistakes," he insisted. "But she loves you. Garrett is gone. This is salvageable." "Robert," I said again, "she's been emotionally cheating for 5 months. She invited her ex to our engagement party. She tried to ruin me publicly. Do you really think a mortgage is going to fix that?" He sighed. "People move past worse. Good luck finding someone who will," I said, and ended the call. Chloe's leverage game. The best part of this whole saga? Chloe. See, while her parents were trying to bribe me into taking Brooke back, they also tried to weaponize Chloe. Diane begged her to talk sense into me. Robert even offered her 10-0 if she could convince me to reconcile. Chloe texted me that night. "Dad just offered me 10K to get you back with Brooke. I told him make it 20K and I'd think about it." She followed with, "JK. I told them no way. But thanks for the kiss, it's the best bargaining chip I've ever had. New car, incoming. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, Chloe rolled up to my place in a shiny new sedan, blasting music and waving like she'd just won the lottery. Thanks, OP, she yelled. Best investment kiss ever. I laughed until my stomach hurt. Garrett's pathetic apology. And then came Garrett. Out of nowhere, I got a text. Hey man, wanna grab a beer? Clear the air? I stared at my phone like it had grown teeth. This was the guy who'd kissed my fiancée at our engagement party, who'd carried on 5 months of secret lunches with her, who'd lied to his own girlfriend to sneak around. Clear the air? I replied with one thing, the photo. Him and Brooke, lips locked, in full 4K glory. No words, just the receipt. He never texted back. Brooke's final meltdown, but Brooke wasn't finished. Oh no, she had one last Hail Mary in her arsenal, the midnight boombox stunt. Picture this, it's 2 months after the engagement party. I'm finally sleeping well again. My life is calm, almost peaceful. Then at 7 a.m. Music blasts outside my window. I peek out and nearly drop dead laughing. Brooke is standing on the lawn of my apartment complex holding an actual boombox above her head, blasting our song. Except she picked the wrong one. It wasn't even our song. It was the one she and Garrett danced to at a college formal. The neighbors were furious. Someone called the cops. Brooke was arrested for public intoxication and disturbing the peace. The next morning, Diane called me screaming, "You had my daughter arrested." "No, Diane," I said. "Your daughter had your daughter arrested." Click. The shift. And just like that, something shifted. For months, I'd been reacting to Brooke's chaos, dodging her accusations, countering her lies, blocking her attempts at control. But now, it was done. She was humiliated, exposed, and officially someone else's problem. And I, for the first time in years, I felt free. I didn't just dodge a bullet. I dodged a nuclear warhead. New beginnings. I took the money I'd been saving for the wedding and booked a solo trip to Colorado. A hiking trip, just me and the mountains. On the day I was supposed to get married, I summited a 14er. I stood at the peak, lungs burning, sun rising, and thought, this is better. This is peace. When I got home, I made changes. I joined a climbing gym. I started therapy not because I was broken, but because I wanted to be healthier. I got back into my hobbies, things I'd shelved for Brooke's drama. And then I met Elena. She was in my book club, smart, funny, grounded. She listened to the Brooke saga with wide eyes, then said, "That's cinematically ridiculous. You could sell it as a screenplay." I laughed. For real? Without bitterness. Elena didn't play games. No jealousy traps, no manipulations, just honesty and curiosity. And that felt revolutionary. Brooke's afterlife. Meanwhile, Brooke's life was a carousel of chaos. She dated a wine bar guy for 3 weeks, declared him her soulmate, then ranted online when he dumped her. Garrett proposed to Adriana with a ring suspiciously similar to mine. Brooke found out on Instagram, lost her mind, and accused Adriana of stealing her destiny. Diane still posted Facebook memes about real men fighting for love. Robert even offered me a job at his company, as if bribery could still work. And Chloe? She came out of it golden. New car, loans paid off, engaged to her girlfriend of 3 years. When she sent me a selfie with her fiancé and the caption, "Thanks again for the kiss," I knew at least one good thing came out of the madness. Looking back, if you told me a year ago my engagement party would implode in flames, I wouldn't have believed you. If you told me Brooke would kiss her ex, invite chaos into our lives, and then try to sue me for defamation, I'd have laughed. If you told me Chloe would become my unlikely ally, I'd have raised an eyebrow. But here's what I learned. People show you who they are. Believe them. Love without trust is just performance. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't a clapback, it's living well while your ex self-destructs. If the engagement party was the beginning of the collapse, and social media justice was the wildfire, then this chapter is the ashes. Because every storm eventually passes, but the wreckage it leaves behind tells you everything you need to know about the people who survived it. The last meeting. It was a grey Sunday afternoon when Brooke called again. Not the shaky, broken call from weeks before, this one had a sharpness to it. A finality. "Meet me at the coffee shop downtown," she said. "One last time. Please." I almost didn't go. But some part of me knew this wasn't about reconciliation, it was about closure. When I walked in, she was already there. No makeup, hair pulled back, an oversized hoodie instead of her usual curated outfits. For the first time in years, Brooke looked ordinary, human. She didn't bother with small talk. "I wanted to apologize," she said. "Not for kissing Garrett, not for the open marriage idea, but for lying about you online. I let my pride ruin everything, and I made you look like the villain." I didn't respond right away. I just stirred my coffee, letting her words hang in the air. Finally, I said, "You didn't just make me the villain. You tried to erase your own mistakes. You wanted sympathy more than truth." Her eyes glistened. Because I didn't know who I was without being the victim, it's the only way I knew how to keep people on my side. Is Noba the final bombshell? Then she dropped the real reason she called. "Garrett ghosted me," she whispered. "After all that chaos, after blowing up my engagement, after humiliating me, he disappeared, stopped answering my calls, moved out of state, like I never existed." She laughed bitterly. "I ruined everything for a man who didn't even want me." It was the first time I saw her stripped of the performance. No drama, no manipulation, just raw regret. But here's the thing about regret. It doesn't rebuild bridges. It just makes you stare at the rubble longer. The goodbye. She reached across the table, her hand trembling slightly. "If there's any part of you that still cares, can we try again? Not now, not tomorrow, but someday?" I pulled my hand back. Slowly, deliberately. "No," I said softly. "We're done. You didn't just break us, you burned us down, and I've already started over with someone who actually respects me." Her face crumpled, but she didn't argue. She just nodded, wiped her cheek, and whispered, "Then this is goodbye." And that was it. The final nail in the coffin of what used to be us. Life after the storm. In the weeks that followed, the internet finally moved on to new scandals. Brooke deleted her accounts, retreating from the digital battlefield she had once dominated. Chloe and I grew closer. Our relationship no longer tainted by secrets or the shadow of Brooke's betrayal. Her parents, bitter as ever, tried to shame me at first, but eventually, even they had to accept reality. Their perfect daughter had destroyed her own fairy tale. As for Garrett, word spread that his new life wasn't so glamorous. Adriana dumped him. His new job fell through. Karma worked slowly, but it worked. And me? I found peace. For the first time in years, I wasn't walking on eggshells, waiting for the next betrayal. I was free. The lesson. People always ask why I didn't forgive her. Why I didn't take her back once she begged. Once she admitted she was wrong. Here's the truth. Forgiveness isn't about letting someone back into your life. It's about letting go of the weight they left behind. I forgave Brooke, but I also buried the relationship because some things don't deserve resurrection. And in that burial, I built something new, stronger, quieter, healthier. Epilogue. Months later, Chloe and I were walking through the park when we saw Brooke sitting alone on a bench. Hoodie, coffee cup, staring at the ground. She looked up, met my eyes, and gave the smallest, saddest smile. I nodded back. Nothing more. No wave. No words. Just acknowledgement. Because sometimes the final goodbye isn't spoken, it's lived. End of chapter 10. The final goodbye.